Welcome to the New York Outlook for Monday, the 26th of February 2024. I thought I'd do this Outlook a bit earlier because I have a lot on my plate today, and I made a bit of an error in my London Outlook. So again, starting off with the economic calendar, as we know, there are no red folder news events, and thus economic events don't have any bearing on our trading. And then starting off with the 4-hour chart, what we do know is that from a daily bias, we do have multiple consecutive candles. Perhaps I could just show you that we have multiple consecutive bullish candles, suggesting that today is likely to be a bearish day. However, it's still a probability and it doesn't mean that it will actually play out. And then from a 4H perspective, we know that we are in a confirmed bearish market trend, with last week, Friday, actually extending the pullback phase primary leg, and thus meaning that we had to identify the last point of supply pullback OB, from which counter trend trades can base themselves off and actually continue in the intended direction. Obviously, coming into the day, this LPOS reaction right here doesn't really matter, because at the time we didn't actually have validation that the pullback phase was extended. We simply had this week, but Friday actually validated it, which means now we will consider trading counter trend if we come down and react to this last point of supply pullback phase, in which case we can trade long, and we need IRL on the trading time frame to actually enable us to long, with the objective of targeting probably the substructure high. However, having said all of that, the primary objective is actually to short for today, and that's where I made a bit of a mistake in my analysis, being that on the 5 minute, I suggested that the latest or last reaction was this on Friday, which then validated this primary leg on the 5 minute that will ultimately extend and become the 4H pro trend primary leg. However, this was an incorrect analysis, and the reason why it's incorrect is because the deepest reaction happened on Thursday, after which we created the primary leg, which is yet to be validated on the 4-hour, but this is your latest primary leg. And since this leg right here is within that, and the fact that Friday didn't actually extend the actual primary leg, trying to trade based on previous high of the day, low of the day is invalid, and thus the trade idea that I had right here is also invalid. So perhaps I can just show you how I had it marked out. So I had an order situated here, and luckily I realized that, hang on, we actually have a more prominent primary leg, or meaning that this primary leg is not actually the primary leg, this is the primary leg, and thus the idea of trading based on the previous high low of the day is invalid, for the reason that this isn't a deeper interaction of this pro trend extreme. Had this reaction right here been somewhere here, then we could justify this. However, since we cannot do that, that means that the previous high of the day, low of the day is essentially situated in this range, and because of that I won't trade based on limit orders, even though, like I said, we have a lot of support for why shorts make sense given all the Asia liquidity and the fact that we've tapped into the pro trend extreme. However, having said all of that, I think the obvious answer is actually, if you are in this trade, just get out, because it's not valid, at least per my trading plan. So for that reason, I was able to get out with break even plus commission, so no harm, no foul there, and I'm going to remove that trade as it's an invalid trade. Now coming into the New York session, the bias remains the same ultimately. What I do want to do is make this, or rather remove that. What I was saying is, coming into the New York session, we still have these Asia liquidities right here to still target, this being the current day and this being Friday, so there's lots of liquidity to target in addition to a nice trend line that's forming. However, we need the London high of the day to be validated. Perhaps it's worth marking this out. High low of the day, London. So this is a London high of the day to be validated by New York. So essentially what I want is for New York to open, then New York to break this London low of the day, come into a valid POI, and have fib alignment with at least a 50% POI fib alignment, and then I'll take that short targeting this and this, being cognizant of the daily range, but also being cognizant of the fact that we are trading pro trend, and the fact that there is reason to believe that this may be the high of the week, given that today is a Monday. So, having said all of that, we can essentially partial this trade but keep it open for the remainder of the week with the objective of reaching the swing ERL on the 4 hour, aka this target right here. So that's my New York outlook. Just to summarize, perhaps let me just get rid of some of these markings and then we can look at the detail again. So just to summarize, there's only reasons to short per my trading plan, at least until we come to this pullback phase LPOS. We have lots of liquidity to the downside, so there's lots of support suggesting that a high probability short makes sense. And in terms of the New York session, I'm simply waiting for the New York session to take out the London low of the day and then find an appropriate POI to then validate the trade from, on the idea that the London high of the day should hold. Obviously, if New York puts in a New York high of the day, then I'm pretty much done trading, as it's more likely than not that I got the daily direction right. Perhaps we're going to go ahead and use this as liquidity, or maybe that trend line right there, or not a trend line but relative equal highs could be used as liquidity, in which case I'll be done trading for the day. Um, Also, there's no red folder news like I highlighted earlier, which means we can't validate why a New York high of the day should hold. Other than that, I hope you have a good trading session, and we'll chat again for the end of day review.